Okay, so yeah, we are joined today by Deborah. She has been gracious enough to come on and offer to tell some of her stories. She is a Taurus North Node, like so many of the people that are around my channel. I feel like Taurus North Node is probably the biggest single group of natal North Node placements that are around the channel. So can only imagine a lot of people might be
Wow.
able to relate to some of the
Mm.
things that we're going to get into. Before we dive into that, though, Deborah has been watching my channel for a while. How long would you say have you been taking in the content?
I discovered you exactly when my when the North Node was hitting I had my nodal return, and
Yes.
this was 2022, I think. Um, yeah, it was 2022. And I was looking for explanations to what was going on in my life. And
Oh,
I found you, and I was just like, whoa, yeah, this is exactly what I'm going through. Exactly. Explained everything. Yeah, it was
oh.
amazing. Amazing.
I feel like if I did a poll on the channel of like what brought you to owning authenticity, it was my nodal return would be like number one. So there,
Mm.
yeah, there's this whole group of like, we love the North Node. We want to grow, we want to evolve and become who we're meant to be. So I really want to come back to like what your nodal return consisted of and like what you learned about and like what kind of became clear and all of that. But we'll come back to that here in a second because I had the pleasure of meeting Deborah here a couple weeks ago through one of the free activation sessions that I gave away. And I want to ask like about the session itself and your experience, but even choosing to fill out the application, like it's a free session. It's not guaranteed that you're going to get chosen for a session, but if you fill out the application, you at least have a chance of getting a free session. And so I wonder like what was that process like of like seeing that the free session existed and choosing to fill out the application?
Well, I think it also has to do with the North Node.
Okay, great.
Let's continue with the subject. Um, right now, the North Node is conjunct with Chiron,
Uh-huh.
and they both are in conjunction at 16 degrees of um, of Aries,
Hmm.
and my natal sun is at 16 degrees of Libra, so they're both exactly opposite,
Yeah.
and and I'm having since the end of last year, I've been having like big time a a big time existential crisis, It's not like the nodal return, but this time, and I'll go to the when we explain about my nodal return, we'll
Hmm.
understand why I'm in this place right now. And your offer of the free activation was an opportunity to understand what I'm going through, and um, it was an amazing experience to just to chat with you is amazing because I
Well, thank
feel
you.
that we are so connected in so many ways. And as I told you, every time I listen to your um videos is just like she's reading my mind. She's spying on me.
I am. I got cameras and everything.
Yeah, she knows everything about me, and
Oh,
I you that's something you don't find with everyone all the time,
yeah.
um and it's so I'm super grateful to have been honored with that free activation, and I am going to say that it has brought more questions than answers, to be honest.
Oh,
And I'm not fully on the other side.
yeah.
Um, and
As I've heard
but
from everyone who's gone through the activation sessions, like we sit together from anywhere from like 45 minutes to an hour to 2 hours sometimes, like in the case of Deborah, it was just that good and it just kept going. Um, And like there are activations, like this is what I understand from my side, and I'd love to hear if this is checking out on your side. It's like there are activations, there are shifts that happen in the session, like while we're on the Zoom together. But really, it's about like opening up a whole new reality on the other side of the activation session. That, right, then you're in new territory. You've got to kind of learn your way around. You have questions that you didn't have access to before. Maybe there's fears that you didn't have access to before because you weren't playing in that place. Um, would you say that's accurate? That like the activation session itself is a much bigger
Oh,
item than just
absolutely.
the 2 hours that we spent together?
Yeah, absolutely. And one of the things that I that impacted me the most was I think my sensation at some point was that I came to do something bigger because um of the times that we're living and this void, this emptiness that I have been feeling. It's like maybe I should be doing something wow, amazing, or teaching people and telling them about my wisdom. Oh, but boy, I received a really like a like a bucket full of cold water, and it's been basically an ego check, and it's been big. And during the conversation that we had, um, we mentioned that it's not about it's not about teaching, but about learning while you're doing a consultation
Hmm.
for other people. And it's not about what you can teach them, but what you can learn from them. And then the tables turn, and then the ego is in check there. And you're not the one giving the information, but rather receiving it. And then you can have an amazing breakthrough with whoever is the person you are trying to help,
Yeah.
whoever that is. And it can be a casual conversation, or it can be a client or whoever.
Hmm.
And so I think the the subject in this Chiron North Node opposite my sun in the first house, because my Aries I have in the seventh, and my sun is in the first. And Aries is all about the ego. This has been a huge ego check, and so now also what has been coming to the front in my life is having this grandiose, I came to do something special in the world,
Mm.
and I should be doing something big and great. And all of a sudden was like, you know, maybe I just came to be myself.
Yeah.
And I just came to do the little things that I do every day with with love and with commitment, and living the simple life that I live, and trying to think that whoever I am, I have to be like Carly, on YouTube, and being a public personality, or I don't know, the savior of the world. Maybe I am not, I'm not destined to do that. Maybe I just came to affect the people that surround me, that are close to me, and each one of us, the ones that are activated, we as long as we're like little activation centers,
Hmm.
and we
Hmm.
activate the people around us, and that's
Hmm.
plenty. The world is perfect with that. We don't have to be superstars. And that thought, because one of a person, a holy man that I'm very close in a spiritual community, and I had a chat with one of the swamis, one of the monks in this spiritual community, And he told me, and it just stuck in my mind. He said, focus on the little things. And I was like, bam, yeah,
Yeah.
yes, that's exactly what this is all about.
Yeah.
And as much as I would love to help more people, to change the world, I can't change the world. I honestly can't. I can
Mhm.
only change my world. And if anything can come out from that, and someone else wants to be inspired by what I do,
Mhm.
it's fine. But feeling the responsibility or the weight of trying to change the
Mm.
world is such a huge thing, and
Yeah.
it's yeah, I don't
So do
think
you
it's
feel lighter? Like the
oh,
weight of that?
absolutely,
Oh, wow.
absolutely,
That's awesome.
absolutely, absolutely, yeah,
I love, okay, so I love everything that you just painted into that picture. And I feel like it's very relatable. This dance between, wait, I have a big mission that I was born for, but all I can do are the little things every day. Like, and how
yeah,
do you balance those two things? And like you mentioned the ego several times, and like the ego is the one that gets all like horny for our big mission, like is just
uh-huh,
so excited, turned on by like, I'm important, the grandiose side of it, like you said. And to some extent, I think that side has a place. And it really isn't about like, this is my own personal opinion. I don't think it's about like changing the world. I think it's about like changing one person's world, you know, like what we're doing right here, right now. Like, even though it is going to go on the channel later, and like at that point, there's potential for other people to watch it if they would choose that for
yeah,
themselves. But
mm-hmm,
truly, you and I are sitting in a moment, an intimate moment together, and it's just us. And like, we're spending this time on each other, on ourselves. Are we changing the world? I would say
maybe,
yes. I mean, we're changing
yeah,
our own worlds. We're adding
definitely,
more connection to our own worlds. And
yeah,
yeah, so I think there's room for both, because the grandiose side reminds us how much we matter. Like how, yes, you're only doing the small things every day, but like, showing up for one person at a time may feel like a small thing, but like it's still the hugest thing that there is. Like showing up and doing it. And it is important, like just even a conversation with one person, like, well, maybe I'll skip it. It's only one person. No, like that's where the grandiose is like, no, go have the conversation with the one person, the stranger on the bench beside you at the park. Like,
oh yeah, definitely, yeah,
one person at a time. Like if you can, like yesterday morning, for example, I heard a teacher that I've been listening to lately. She's like, you just need 20 seconds of courage every day to change your life. That's all it takes. 20 seconds every day of being courageous, of taking the courageous, bold step. And what I did, what felt like the low-ish hanging fruit that like I could reach for, is I'm going to find 5 people on my friends list on Facebook, and I'm going to send them a message. Not like I need anything from them, but people that like I enjoy seeing what they post. I enjoy, reading what they write. I like what they're curating as far as like what they put into my newsfeed. And so 5 people I got in their messages, and I told them that like I really love the way you shine your light. I really love what you're doing here. I find it inspiring. I think you're being really authentic, and I really appreciate that. I try to fill my feed with people just like you. And do you want to know what every single one of them said? That
that's
made
what
my
I
day.
needed.
That
Yeah,
made my whole day.
hmm, yeah,
That was amazing to wake up to.
yeah,
And then how many lives did I touch? Like, because every single one of them went into their day and now had this like boost of like, I'm seen and I matter and I'm inspiring people. And like they carried themselves differently. I know they did going into that day. And like, not that that's what we do it for. Like, I'm a lover. I want to give love. Like that's how I felt, was like I feel like I need somebody to love. And then it's like this friend isn't available, this friend isn't available. I don't really have a video that I want to make. I can't really, and like it's like you don't need to have somebody special to like, dude, go find five people you don't ever even talk to, but like, hey, I saw what you posted yesterday and I really like that. Thank you so much for
Yeah.
being courageous and sharing your beautiful light. Like, just know that it touched me and it really gave me something to think about, helped me feel better. Thank you for that. Like maybe that's simple, but I think it's grandiose. I think it's huge. The way that those ripple effects move. So yeah,
You know,
it's merging those two ideas together, the simple and the huge.
for me, the way it shows is, well, I'm kind of like away from people. I live in the country, and I don't see many people very often. I'm quite a hermit. But when I have to go to the shop, and to get my groceries, whatever, there's always, always, always an opportunity. And I like the improvised moment. It's not something that I plan. And there's, if you're aware of your surroundings, because most people just are like that. They just walk and they
Mhm.
they're in their little world. But when you are aware of yourself and everything around you, you can
Mhm.
see always there's an opportunity to help the lady with the cart,
Yeah.
with a little trolley. You can help, have a chat with the guy at the till, and I have discovered that, just like you say, just a little word, just an act of random kindness, it makes such a difference to so many people. and
Yeah.
and it doesn't have to be fireworks, and you're probably no one will know that you helped that lady with her trolley, or with
Right.
her groceries, to put them in her boot. Well, sorry, I'm in the
You're
UK, so
really in the UK. Yeah, you got all kinds of words, trolleys and boots, and we have carts and
yeah,
trunks here in the
yeah,
US,
all
but that's
right,
okay. I knew what you
okay.
meant. Yeah.
Ah, but so yeah, those little details,
Little.
they make my life
Oh, I
different,
know. Yeah.
and I don't know what the impact on them is. Um, I see their smile and their gratitude, but we never know how big that little thing would, the difference it would make in their life.
Yeah.
And I live by the mantra: treat others as you treat yourself. And if we really consider ourselves spiritual, I think that's the where you start. You can't consider yourself spiritual if you don't treat others like you treat yourself.
That's really
And
interesting that you say that, because I think it's really telling that like my act of being courageous is to tell people that I find them inspirational, and that like thank you for shining your light, and like you are absolutely right that like deep down like that's what I want. That's how I like to be treated. I like it when people
mhm,
tell me like you made a positive impact on me. So I went and found five people that like I could genuinely say that and mean it. Like you made a positive impact on me. Thank you for that. And
yeah,
all because like that's me. That's what I want.
mhm,
And so like it
mhm,
almost goes back to like my love language is words of affirmation, and maybe your love language is acts of service, or I don't know,
mm,
like
yeah,
we
yeah,
love
totally.
people the way that we love. And
Hmm.
so whatever that looks like for you. And I think the part that's tricky about not seeing the impact is that then it's easy to underestimate. It's easy
Yeah,
to be like, what does it matter? She already knows how awesome she is. I don't need to tell her. But like, what? Like, why are you withholding your love? Like,
yeah,
give your love to one person. And like, that really truly is as huge as it ever is, maybe,
yeah,
like making the world a better place for like one person at a time. And
yeah.
possibly as you do that and you get some momentum going with it, and like possibly the capacity. Like I love how you say like there's these little hubs of activated light. Like you're turned on and you're emitting light, and then the people around you, their world is brighter. And it's like
Yeah,
Wi-Fi routers, like when
exactly.
when you are plugged into the signal and then you put that signal out, it helps other people to stay plugged into the signal, and then they're plugged in and helping other people around them. Like it just gets bigger and bigger and bigger capacity for us all. So like
Yeah,
what is a little thing?
yeah,
Like the ripple effects, because we can't see it, it's easy to underestimate, and I beg you not to.
yeah,
Like give what you have to give because it
yes,
makes a big difference. It really
absolutely.
does. Yeah.
Yeah, and never question yourself like, oh, should I just go and help I always ask first. It's like, would you like me to help you? And sometimes they would say no, and then I would respect that, but never if you have that pull, just go for it, I
Yeah.
think that makes such a big difference in my life at least,
Yeah.
and hopefully for theirs, and yeah, that's amazing. Yeah, and
Mm.
I'm action service. I'm totally service.
Yeah. Yeah.
I am I have a Virgo ascendant, and my sixth house of service is in Aquarius. So yeah, it's
Um,
community service all the
yeah.
time.
Yeah. Ah, wow. Dude, yeah, the little things are huge. I wonder, you said that you feel lighter after the activation session, and that sounds awesome, but you also said
Yeah,
that you have more questions than answers. And I
yeah.
wonder, like, what's an example of a question that was unlocked with the activation session?
I don't really know yet. Like,
Or I guess what is the question where you say you have more questions than answers? Like, what is the unknown factor?
well, I still don't know what I came to do. It's um and maybe I'm not supposed to figure it out just now, you
Sure.
know? But at least I have this I think I'm still in the process, and I think the biggest thing has been to to appreciate my daily life, my little moments, my the little things, and God knows really, uh, and that stops me from worrying of this life mission that has been nagging, and kept me in this existential crisis. So yeah, I think I'm still in the process.
Yeah. We had talked about like that you were interested possibly in like sharing your stories, your wisdom, like what you've learned from your life. Um, and that, you know, it's not necessarily about like writing a whole book, but like picking a story and like writing that one down and then picking another story and writing that one down. Um, has the shift around like not worrying so much about your mission, has it been like, oh, like now I'm not worried about doing that, like I don't need to do that, like, or has it made it easier to take action?
Um, I did start doing some writing, and and then I had a few days of very deep, just being eh, very confused, and I'm usually more mental. I do my mental process. I like to think and observe and contemplate, I sometimes just sit in my back garden and I just watch the trees and the birds, and I just go around and around. Not in not in a bad way. I think it clears a lot of things, but I come to very nice conclusions, but then the sitting down and writing is still something that I have to work a little more. I have to really push myself to do that.
Hmm. Well, and if it feels like a push, possibly it's not the right fit. I mean, I don't know enough about it to be able to say that with like any kind of certainty, but I do know that like being excited about something and like the fun of it is what pulls me into action.
Yeah,
Like never in the history of anything that I made was I able to push myself through it. So you may be very different, right? Everybody has different levels of willpower and all of that. But for me, I don't respond well to the forcing myself from the backside.
yeah,
I have to have like out in front of me, like what is the carrot that's dangling that's like fun that I'm moving towards. So yeah, like if it doesn't light you up in a fun way where like you're excited, like I woke up in the morning and like I can't wait to get back to it, like maybe that's not exactly the right fit for this moment. And that's not even saying that it might not be a good fit for tomorrow even.
yeah, yeah, yeah. Right now, this existential crisis has got me like in the moment of like, oh, I don't want to do anything. I've been finding it's not only the writing. I've been finding very difficult to feel inspired by just anything. So
Mm.
it's not only the writing, it's everything else. And so but I just allow myself to be in this place of darkness, if you want to call it like that. I do not fear to be here in this place. And when I tell people how I feel, they instantly want to give me advice to fix it, and it's like, no, I'm okay. I'm not gonna die. I love darkness. I like to be in the dark. I My moments of brilliance have come from the darkest moments,
Yeah.
and I've always thought that the more dark your life has been, the more potential you have to shine.
Hmm.
And so I really embrace my darkness, my dark moments, and so right now I don't feel inspired to do anything, even the things I love to do.
Hmm.
But that doesn't mean that the writing won't come at some point. It is something that I really want to do, and I think I have the potential of writing a very intense, funny, and interesting story, because that's how my life has been,
Yeah.
very dramatic. But I have come to terms with it, and I can really make it sound really funny, because the drama can become something so hilarious. So but I will do it. I will do it one day. Yeah,
Well,
for
and
sure.
like we talked about, there is such this dance between the work we create and share into the world. Like, yes, it's there to help other people, but truly, like, the creation of the work is for you. And
Yeah,
so, if your soul, like, doesn't want that right now, then
yeah,
that's like, that's not what you need in this moment. And like,
yeah,
you making the greatest impact possible, whether that's like your community or ever on a bigger scale, like it has to come out of your own impact, your own like giving that to yourself first. And yeah, I think not rushing it is a big deal, especially for this axis of Taurus and Scorpio. Like the process is what it is. And
mm-hmm,
especially with that Scorpio South node, there is a lot of layers to chew through. And
mm-hmm,
to your point about like every layer you've ever chewed through, every drama, every crisis, every loss, everything has led to something of value that comes out on the other side.
yeah,
And possibly this is another one of those where like you're working through the layers inside of yourself and it's not really time to share, like there's,
Yeah.
go ahead.
Yeah, I feel I haven't got anywhere. Like I feel like you write a book to share when you have accomplished something, like it, so the story takes you to that point, and I think I'm still in the hurricane, and I haven't there's no conclusion just yet. So um yeah, I don't know. It's
Yeah.
probably I still have to live a little more and experience a little more to find that moment of okay, from here, now I have I can direct all that story to this point. But yeah, not yet.
Yeah.
Not yet.
Well, and I wonder, especially like you said at the beginning, how, that Chiron North Node conjunction is exactly opposite your sun, and that sucker is sitting still for 2 weeks, February 11th through the 25th. I'll link my video in the description. Um, where like I think there are probably more people than not who can relate to what you're saying of like, I don't, I'm not in a place to help anybody. I'm having all my shit stirred up and like brought to
Yes.
the surface. And I think I'm going to need a minute. But like, it reminds me of earlier in January, I was home alone. Dolly went to Florida for 2.5 weeks. And so I was at my house by myself for the first time in 2 years or longer. And during that time, I happened to get sick for the first time in 4 years. So I had 9 days of like feverish and brain completely offline. Like I had to cancel all my work things, all my support things, like my friend time, my sacred circles, like all the things that fill my cup. I wasn't physically able. So I cancel
Mm,
all of that for 9 days and I stay in my house by myself. And you want to talk about a hurricane that, like, it's not time to do anything. I don't have an
hmm.
idea. I don't have support. I'm barely keeping my mouth above water, like, let
Yeah,
alone trying
yeah.
to help anybody else. So the thing that I want to say about that, though, is like the dark is darkest just before the dawn.
Okay.
Okay. Because that darkness, that like isolation, it brought some things to a head where it was almost like a slingshot, like the darkness, the 9 days of illness, like it pulled me back. And then the first day that I was like better, even just mostly better, it like let go of me. And now that's been not quite, I think like 10 days ago, I got better. And so I've had 10 days of like being, and I feel like I live in a completely different place, like on a
Wow.
completely different level of reality now compared to not just while I was sick, but before. Like that darkest right
Right.
before the dawn, it's
Hmm.
like I was already in the dark before, and then it got worse. And then I got sick
Yeah.
and I was isolated and I didn't feel good at all. And I couldn't do my normal self-care that like pours into my cup so that I could feel better. And the level in my emotional well-being just went down and down and down and down. But you know what? Like it was almost like if you picture a canal that has like walls on both sides and the water level is like almost all the way full and the ship is like floating on top of the water and the eye level is like out over the horizon, like you can see miles and miles and miles. And like what happened was like the water level in my canal went down and down and down, and the eye level of what I was looking at was no longer the horizon, it was right here, and it was
Mm,
ugly, it was
mm,
scary, it was messy, it was hating on me
mm.
hating on me standing in my own way, me putting myself down, me telling myself I couldn't do it. And you know what? That level of eyesight of like what I could see during that time, it's like that was always there.
Yeah.
It's not like it
Yeah,
wasn't in there just because I
exactly.
was like taking such good care of myself and now I'm up here and I can see all the way over there. Like, look, guys, it's like all the way over there. It's like, yeah, but that shit is still down at the bottom of your
Yeah,
canal, just waiting for when you're gonna purge it. And
yeah,
so I, dude, like those last few days of like not feeling good, I mean, I was like staring into the abyss of
yeah.
like, what even is life? Why am I even here? Like, I haven't been, my water levels haven't been that low
Ah,
in years,
yeah,
years. And the thing about it is like, you know, the water level dipping and like not being able to do what I normally do that lifts me up, being in the hurricane, whatever you want to call it. It's like when I sank down there and I got a good look at like what is there, it's not like the bubble burst like immediately, but it was even just like a couple days, like 2 or 3 days. And I had stared that fear in the face and found my way around it, like found my way to integrate that so that that thing is like not swimming in my canal anymore.
yeah,
Like it's boarded the ship. It's with me. It's on my team. It's energy that I have now to devote to where I'm going, not this anchor that's like holding me back, pulling me backwards, pulling me down, like doesn't want me to leave my comfort zone where I've been. And so the moral of that story is that it's always in there. Like even if you're not
yeah.
feeling it right now. And so if you do dip down into that place, I say lean all the way into it,
Yeah.
and like purge every tear. I had a thought this morning. I think you Scorpio South nodes are really going to love. Instead of the act of crying, like the act of tears coming out of your eyes, instead of calling it crying, which has a whole connotation around it of like boys don't cry and like crying is weakness, yada, 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 bullshit, every bit of it. It's shedding. I'm shedding
Yeah,
my
yeah,
old layers, my old self. Like you could also call it integrating. Like
yeah.
every
It's
tier is space for something
and
to,
purging. It's a
yes,
purge as well.
yes, all
You
of
can
it.
purge in many ways,
Yeah,
and
yeah,
crying is one of them. Yeah,
yes. Shedding all of that out of there. And then it's not in there anymore.
yeah,
Then the anchor isn't pulling you or holding you in place. Like then you're free to move forward because that's not in there anymore. Or it's
yes.
integrated or kind of however you like to think about it. So I also say that, especially to a Scorpio South node, and hopefully other Scorpio South nodes hear the same message is like, I don't know if the purge is ever really over. And that sometimes like there are moments of clear skies where like you can bring something valuable out and like, look, it's not the end all be all conclusion, but it's something. This is valuable. It helped me feel this much better. That's something. And sometimes you're staring it in the face of like what it is that you're still working through. And that, like, there's absolutely no shame whatsoever. In fact, I think there's a lot of strength in letting yourself lean all the way in to like, what is that? What is trying to work itself out? This existential crisis that you've mentioned a few times, like this ego check that you've mentioned, like, what is it that like really is wanting to get out of your way. Like it only comes up so that it can be dealt with and then it's not in the way anymore. So, like, how would you put that into words? Like, what is the fear, the doubt, like, what is it that this existential crisis is made of?
It is very funny actually, because going back a little bit with the when my well, basically my whole life has been a big, big trauma and drama. For I'm 57, and I would say that up until a year and a half ago, it was like big time drama all the time, constantly. And when my North Node was that conjunction with my with the North Node, was this like big boom realization of so many things, these patterns that had been in my life. We'll get to there when we
Mm-hmm.
talk about
Mm-hmm.
that. Um,
Well, maybe give us an example of like what's one pattern that you saw
okay,
during that time.
all right. Basically, I was when the North Node hit my North Node. Um, there was the trigger was a relationship with a man that I call my narcissist guru
I
because
remember that. That's
he
great.
yeah and because he gave me the opportunity to see, for a long time I felt so what's the word, it's unfit, like I was a problem all the time, like I didn't know
Mm,
what was wrong, why I couldn't relate to people normally, why sometimes I could have a conversation, a normal conversation with people, why would people attack me, or I was just not right in this world.
mm,
And when I met this man, I learned about narcissism. He taught me what narcissism was. And it was just like, wow, this is incredible. Yes, of course. And I started seeing in retrospective my whole life. And I was like, yes, my mother, my sister, and I started like really understanding why my relationships were like that, but also that came along with being homeless. After that relationship, I was homeless for a year. I lost some money, not all, because the North Node, what it does, it takes away what you don't need, but it keeps you safe so that you can go through this phase, and it keeps you contained,
yeah.
but it really shakes you up. But I could also see that I had enough money to be homeless, and not to worry about money, so I could just live this situation, and also I had to separate from my daughter because she was not I couldn't I couldn't I couldn't take care of her anymore. She's already 19, but unfortunately she had to go with a friend, and I couldn't take care of her. So for me, I lost everything.
Mm,
But I was still in this containment, it was just like, okay, you still have to burn all this karma. Go, 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 go. And so my narcissist guru showed me my my responsibility in all this was I was codependent. I was just begging for little crumbs of love to everybody, to my mother, to my sister,
mm,
because they treated me with disdain, and I was like, but why, but I'm so lovely. I'm a Libra. Why don't you love me?
right.
I am so lovely. And I did everything for people. I was a people pleaser, and I realized how much I wanted people to accept me, and it was one of the most, I think, the most painful moment in my entire life. My body was in pain, my mind was in pain, my emotions were just so tumultuous. It was just incredible, incredible. But that was not the end. When I was homeless, I just bounced from one place to another, being at the mercy of other people who were not kind to me.
With
Obviously,
that
they,
Scorpio South node, there's probably always people there who are willing, but god damn it, like enter at your own risk kind of shit.
oh,
Like,
yeah.
yeah.
And they were just taking advantage of my
Yeah.
situation, and but it was
Mm.
a journey of setting boundaries in a huge way, in the most painful way. It was just like slap after slap after slap. And so finally, I came to this amazing, I mean, it was the gift of all this,
Mm-hmm.
is that I came across this amazing spiritual community where I live. There's an ashram. I'm in the
Mm-hmm.
middle of Wales in the UK, and there's an ashram just 20 minutes away from where I live. But I was taken to this place and I felt like home. The people there are completely different. Everything is like a little pocket of love in the middle of the UK.
Mm-hmm.
And and it changed my life. I went to stay there for a few days and just to work. I'm service. So I'm just working and praying. I'm like a good Virgo rising, work and pray, work and
Sure.
pray. And I was just like, please, God, give me a place where I can be at peace and safe and I don't have to be at the mercy of anybody. I'm not gonna lie to you. After those 4 days that I was praying, about 3 days after I went back to where I was living, a lady from Facebook sent me a message saying, I have this little cottage in the middle of the woods next to the river. The rent is so low. I mean, everything that I once wrote down. It was check, 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 check. I came to see it and I was just like, yeah, this is the place. So the biggest gift before I forget
Mm-hmm.
is I I was so life forced me basically to look up and just and acknowledge that God was with me the whole time. Whoever you want to call God, for me,
Mm-hmm.
God is many things, has many aspects, is
Sure.
my guides, my angels, the Christ, whoever,
Mm-hmm.
Shiva,
I'll take it
Kali,
all.
whoever,
Yeah.
everything.
Yeah.
And but I realized how much love I was receiving the whole time. And in retrospective, I could see they were with me all the time. The
Yeah.
divine was with me, taking care of me, showing me in a tough way, because it's tough love. Sometimes we need to wake up. But I've been so taken care of in such a beautiful way. It was incredible.
Yeah.
And coming to this little cottage where I live now, it's been the manifestation of that love. And me being part of this community now, that's where I get my sustenance and my in every way, spiritual, financial.
Mm.
I do service there. I volunteer for them. I do so many things, and they do so many things for me. It's just incredible. But where I was, I the tangent. I've now I don't know where I was going, but
The biggest gift of what you got from it, and it sounds like you found a home. Like you
yeah,
found love, the love that you've been begging for the crumbs. Like who doesn't friggin' feel that to the
yeah,
core of their
yeah,
being? Like
yeah,
again, I think there's a lot of people pleasers slash recovering people pleasers around this community where that is one of the main hurdles that we're working on to get to our authentic self. Um, and the settling for crumbs, the begging for crumbs, the tolerating a mountain of disrespect
yeah,
to just
yeah,
get one crumb of love.
yeah,
Like that, I love how you brought the word codependency into it. Like that's truly like that Scorpio South Node, and even to some extent the Libra South Node that we're like still working through now. It's like if you will let go of needing it from these specific people, the universe can provide it for you. Like
yeah,
it exists. The love you want, the
yeah,
connection you want, the community you want, the home you
absolutely.
want, like it is real and it exists, but you
And
can't
it's in
demand it from, right. It's inside of you, it's up there, it's in this connection of the divine coming into your
exactly.
vessel, but you
Hmm.
cannot demand it from specific other people. And that I feel
Yeah,
like is that Libra Scorpio like over focusing on the other person that's your mirror,
Yeah.
that's across from you, rather than really knowing that, like, no, it's in you. It's in you the
Yeah.
whole time. That's fascinating with, like, I wonder the other Taurus North nodes that are watching this, like, you having the Scorpio South node and a Libra sun. Like that combo, it's like that's like a double dose of like you were like, no, 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 this time I'm gonna figure it out. I'm gonna figure out how to find these harmonious relationships where we're
Hmm.
not like stealing power from each other, like taking advantage, like you
Hmm.
said, like there's plenty of all the things going on in the world. We get to
And
decide
I
what
have
we
to,
want.
yeah, I have to say that I have abused my relationships in many ways as well.
Yeah.
With a Scorpio South Node, obviously, um, I've fine, and my North Node is in my second house of
So you got
money. So
the eighth house
yes,
south node and the Scorpio
in
south node, like
yes,
again, like
in
really,
it's inverted, yeah, and
yes.
it's a about money. Money has been an issue all my life, and so I can honestly say that I have taken advantage of others people's money, not stealing or everything, but in making myself a little, oh, poor me, and then people giving me money for that. And
Mm,
I lost a lot of power through that situation,
mm.
and obviously in relationships through sex, you also give away a lot of your power, and it's this power, you know, you yeah,
I
it's this
the
power.
gesture actually said a lot. So I think I got what you meant there. Like there's so many different ways that we give our power, that we receive power from others, that we take power from
Yeah,
others, or we try to
exactly.
anyway. Some people are available for that, and some people freaking aren't. Like you said about
Oh yeah,
boundaries, like, dude, like if you're not available to have your power harvested, nobody can take it from you.
yeah,
That's a fact. But
yeah,
when we're in scarcity mode and we're like, well, but I need this from them, so I better give so I can get, like, I
exactly.
love that you brought that into it. And I just have to applaud your authenticity and your honesty to say that, because I think there are a lot of people who go through the narcissistic relationship dynamic and they come out the other side the victim. And it's
Mm-hmm.
like, I get it. They did stuff that's not cool, but like, are you telling me two weren't doing that
Yeah.
dance? Because like, I don't buy
Uh-huh.
it. Like, when I see those posts on Facebook in the astrology groups that I'm in or whatever, and it's like,
I
what's the
know.
most toxic sign you ever dated? And I'm like, me. I was the toxic one. Like, I was the
Exactly.
one that will go
Yeah.
crazy on your ass if you don't do exactly what I like. Dude, we've all been there.
Yes,
Like we
absolutely.
all got confused about our power and where it comes from and our love and where it comes from. And then we get clear, and
Yeah.
when we know better, we do better. So, like, I personally don't think there's any shame in those kinds of stories of like, yeah, I did things in the past I'm not really that proud of or proud of at all, you
Me
know?
neither.
And you still don't have to regret it, you can learn from it. Like, why did
Yeah.
you do that? Well, I thought I didn't have access. I just didn't know that like this was my access, like now
Yeah.
I know. Now that's where I get my love, my energy, whatever. So I really thank you for voicing that, because again, I think that's very relatable, that it's a lot easier to blame the other person than to
Yeah.
blame and degrade them.
Well, how the way I see it is when you are being abused in any way, you are being part of the game. You're in part of the game. And if you're being abused, you're also abusing in some way,
Mm,
because always the victim becomes the victimary at some point,
hmm.
you know. Um, People the victim takes advantage of the poor me so that everybody pays
Hmm.
attention to me and gives me what I need, So the victim abuses others in their position of victimhood,
Yeah.
it is complicated, but I have analyzed this so much in myself, and and because I can see it in others, and I can see it in myself, how in my position of oh, poor me, look how much I suffer. So many people have tried to help me, and I have taken more than I should have probably,
Mhm.
and yeah, if you're in a position in an abusive relationship, you're being part of it, of the game
Well, it's like what we were talking
completely.
about with like the whole point of boundaries is that you're available for what you're available for.
Exactly.
So like
Yep.
if you don't want the situation, then end it, make a plan to
Mm-hmm.
end it, find resources
Mm-hmm.
to help you end it, right? Like not just I'm stuck here, but like here's what I'm
Yeah.
doing to get myself out. You know,
Yes.
like that's taking your power and putting it back in you. And like nothing in the world is written in cement to the point where it can't be changed. So if there's something you don't like, then you can change it, but it requires you recognizing that like it's on you to change it for you if you want it to be different. And that's the thing about the nodal return, and to your story illustrates it so perfectly, is that those kinds of transits, those kinds of times and seasons in our life, they come through and they almost like it's like a tropical storm that just like lays waste to everything in your life so that like the things that you weren't able to let go of yourself, that sometimes things get taken away and then you have no choice but to like figure out like okay, so now what are you going to do? And I love
Yeah.
how you told the yeah, it was really hard and like the hardest most painful thing I ever went through, but even in the midst of that there was divine protection and there
Yeah.
were nets that caught me as I was falling and I found my way to this community of beautiful souls and like now I have that,
Yeah.
like it that's the Taurus and Scorpio, like the darkest of the dark. And on the Taurus end, like the Garden of Eden, like literally making it to paradise. But how'd you get there? Well, I walked through the shadows of the valley of death. Like
Yeah.
I went through it and I have to read you. We're hitting an hour and I think we're gonna call that
Oh,
good. But Deborah, dude, I would love to do this again at some point.
okay.
If you want
Oh,
to come
yeah,
back
I
and
have
like
more to tell.
I know you do. I know you do. You have so many stories and you have so many. I know you're like in the middle of your next conclusion coming together, but like you're narcissist guru. Like you've got so many conclusions already. You've got things that you've worked out. So I'm glad we got to share some of that here. And I have this card that I pulled on the Zoom I was just on just before we got on together. And it's sitting here staring at me the whole time we're talking. And I want to give it to you and read you what it says in the book and also give it to any of the other Taurus North Nodes who might find their
All
way to
right.
this conversation. And that card is the Phoenix.
Wow.
Okay. This is out of
Yeah.
let me see if I can grab
Woo!
the animal spirit
Oh, wow. That's
archetypes.
amazing.
Okay. And it's a pocket deck, which just means the cards are teeny. But the Phoenix, and I'm going to read you here what it says. So the keywords are freedom from suffering and past karma and reincarnation. The Phoenix represents the transformation of our past. It doesn't mean running from it, denying it, or burning bridges with rage. The Phoenix employs an advanced technique described in yoga as the burning of impurities through practice and dedication, which I feel like is what you're in right now. Your hurricane. You're burning
Yeah.
impurities right and left,
Oh,
sideways. I know
yeah.
you are. The essence of the Phoenix is with us when we realize we have been suffering too long and something must change. That's all that happens when the Phoenix ignites within us is that we know that we have been suffering for too long and something must change. We take a
Yeah.
stand and decide to live consciously instead of being driven by the unconscious mind and its long list of fears and aversions. At that very moment, the spark of the Phoenix is lit, and the great bird helps us burn through our baggage. We no longer run from who we are, what has happened to us, or what we have done. The stuckness and dead weight fall into the ashes, and a lightness and clarity emerge. As the stagnancy continues to smolder, the Phoenix lifts our spirits up and up, and we begin to recognize ourselves again. We may catch a glimmer in our eye that wasn't there before. Look closely. It's a sign the fire of transformation is upon your wings. It's going to make me cry.
Wow, that's
Isn't
amazing.
that perfect for like
It's just perfect.
everything we talked
Yeah.
about today? The burning away of
Yeah.
impurities, the letting the purge happen. The whole point of the phoenix is that you got to burn to ash before you can rise up with your beautiful wings. Like it is a process. And I love the trust that you've demonstrated for your process. And that's why, I mean, I would love it if you would come back and let's do another conversation because I guarantee the comments on this video are going to tell us about how relatable your story was.
I just
So,
want to say one more thing,
yep, yep, yep,
just to close.
yep.
All this, the moment what I'm dealing with right now is what to do with all this peace that I have now.
Oh, dude, there's a phrase that comes to mind that I absolutely love is new levels, new devils.
Uh,
Okay, so like every time we reach a new level of reality, a new level of awareness inside of ourselves, there is a keeper of the gate, if you will,
yeah,
that's like, what's the secret passcode? And you're like, I don't fucking
yeah.
know. I don't know. I have no idea. Why don't you tell me what the passcode is?
Ah,
And he's like, you're
yeah,
not getting in here. And it's
yeah,
like, then you
yeah.
sit there at the gate and you figure it out. Like I'm sure if you think back on other times in your life, like there was the new levels, new devils, and
Mhm.
you integrated it, and then you were more of who you were. And like now that devil, the new scary thing, like that's in the past. I already did that. And so, like, I love is very Taurus North Node of like, what if I'm just like really freaked out by peace and quiet and
Yes,
stillness? Like, what if that is
exactly.
like the scariest thing on the face of the planet is to
Yeah,
be at peace? And so, yeah, how about we leave it right there with like how many of
yeah.
you Taurus North nodes relate to that? And possibly when we come back on another conversation, we can talk more and unpack more about, right, how do you acclimate your nervous system to
Hmm.
being at peace? How do you
Exactly.
bring every one of the trillions of cells of your body into harmony with peace?
Yeah.
And
That's the toughest thing I'm living. I don't know
oh,
if yeah,
I
it's
get, for every one of the North Node groups, like the different natal North nodes, like everybody's going to have a different version of that.
mm,
Um, but I can definitely relate to it as far as like my Virgo South node is very busy and my Pisces North node is like, oh, just surrender, just go with the flow. I'm like, no, no. Like, I don't know how to not be in control? Like, so we all have our own version of like, how do I incorporate this much ease? Because that's truly all it is an addiction to it being hard, an addiction to it being traumatic and painful. And like,
hmm
to unravel that a little bit, maybe what I'll leave you with is like, what do you get out of that?
hmm
What kind of identity do you have wrapped up in like, look at all these hard things I did? There's almost like just a little bit of martyrdom in it
Yeah,
of
yeah,
like, look at how hard my life is.
yeah.
And like, if your life were peaceful and easy and abundant and delicious and you live in the Garden of Eden, you wouldn't get to tell that story anymore.
Exactly that's where I live in the Garden of Eden.
You really do, from the sound of it.
I I'm in abundance. I am at peace. I have the best place with the best people and I don't know what to do with it.
Yeah. Yeah. Dude.
And it's yeah, but yeah, that will be
Again,
for another time.
it is. And I feel like this was relatable. Any of you who have listened, please give Deborah some love down in the comments.
Ah.
Tell her which parts of her story really stood out to you as far as a nugget of value that you're able to take with you from this conversation. Um, and possibly there's some ideas of like maybe some of the stories that you're already ready to write, when you get to that point on the other side of what you're going through right now. I appreciate it so much, you giving voice to these things every time we see that like you are not the only one, feeling these ways. Like even I've resonated with so many parts of your story. I've
Yeah.
laughed at parts of your story. The narcissist guru gets me every time. I love that. Turning our predators into our teachers,
Yes.
like that right there alone is a nugget of gold that anybody could take and could run with and make their life better by using that perspective. So thank you, Deborah. Thank you for everyone who joined us. This was such a pleasure.
Amazing.
Yeah, let us
As
know if you have questions for next time Deborah's
yeah,
here that you'd like her to speak
yeah.
about, that you'd like her to answer. If you have questions about the Taurus North Node in general that you'd like me to answer, any of that is welcome in the comments. I love these informal conversations where we can just unpack like what is the next little bit. There is no end all be all where like, oh, it's over and I'm perfect now and like the journey's done.
No,
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 new levels, new
no.
devils. Every time we
Yes.
move forward, there's the next little bit. And I am
Ah,
here for it. I love it.
yeah.
I love the expansion. I would so much rather help people figure out how to meet their new devil than hear their sob story about how they're stuck in the same place for 30 years. Like it's hard to move forward. It's harder to not move forward. So I love your story. I love you for sharing it. Deborah, thank you so much.
And I
And
love your work and
oh,
I
thank
love
you.
what you do. And it's delicious to talk to you and listen to you. And you are very part of my life.
Mm.
I'm...
Well, and now you're part of my life and you're part of everybody's life who listens. So whether
That's
you wanted a
amazing.
bigger audience or not, you already got one. So yeah, thank you so much. And we will do this again soon.
Yeah,
Bye,
absolutely.
everybody. Sending you love.